You know, I usually eat the whole cherry when I do sample a cherry. It's indescribable. It's a bitter, it's tart and sweet at the same time. It's hard to explain, but it is so good.
El sabor sería como adictivo, porque te comes una y quieres comerte otra después. Pero es algo muy rico, muy bueno, que a la mayoría de gente nos encanta.
It's really at the moment when the cherry is super ripe, and if I'm out here at 6 in the morning just as the sun's coming up and I pick the cherry off the tree and pop it in my mouth, and it's just like this immediate opportunity for all these emotions and memories that flood in from my childhood and when my grandfather was alive and being in our the packing operation, and it's just a really exciting time. Having the responsibility is kind of one of those things that I've always wanted. Now that I have it, it's great, but it's like the real deal. But yeah, definitely when I come back out here and just in the orchard, I can kind of release some of those stresses and just enjoy being out here. My great-grandmother was the person who held the bank loan on the piece of ground that we're on right now. And then my grandfather continued to utilize the ground for farming. He was one of the pioneers that started exporting cherries from California to Japan. My father, being the third generation, maintained the orchards that my grandfather actually put in.
So yeah, this is a monument to meaning my wife and myself, to our two sons, Jamie, and Todd. Yeah, so my dad in 81, 82, after I'd worked a season, said, I'm ready to start retiring. And so I remained here farming with my dad. He helped me a lot, stuck with me for 3 or 4 years, basically, and showed me what to do and how to do it. So my dad gave me this when he was ready to retire. Okay. I was lucky enough to have James step in. I'd been through a pretty difficult harvest. It was 2015 and 16, hot, dusty, physically demanding. And I thought to myself, just didn't think I could go through another one, and I was so happy to do it. It was just here on the weekends. It was like, oh boy, he's gonna be here tomorrow,
When I explained to my dad that I wanted to become involved in the operation, he was surprised. I was surprised that he didn't know I was interested. Each blossom is an opportunity for a cherry to develop. The cherry is so super delicate that really there's multiple stars that need to align. I mean, first and foremost, right off the get-go, if there's frost during bloom, boom, crop disaster. 2 is if you don't have warm enough weather for the bees to fly. And then the one that gets a lot of attention is when the cherry is right about ready to be picked, if we have rain.
Hace 3 años teníamos la mejor cosecha de que nunca había habido. Y íbamos a empezar el lunes a piscar. El domingo en la tarde cayó una tormenta en esta área de aquí y nos reventó toda la cherry.
Wow, it was devastating. If you look at a child growing up, there's a lot of different things you do when they're growing up versus when they're full grown. So we go through that growing cycle every year, basically. It's like a new crop, right? So it's a new kid every year.
It's an outstanding area to grow cherries. The key components to this region is the climate. The nighttime temperatures allow them to grow and become more sweet, and then during the day there's a tremendous amount of photosynthesis that's able to take place. For me, it's quite remarkable just how quickly these trees produce cherries. We have other fruit in California and in the county that comes off later, but cherries are the first, and from my perspective, the most exciting. To allow people that don't have the experience that I have and that other farmers have to be in these orchards is really something that the U-Pick offers. People can go out and with their children or their grandchildren or their girlfriend or their boyfriend or their wife and just have a real cool connecting opportunity in Mother Nature.
People tell us that, you know, if they really want a good cherry, they have to come here in the orchard to pick it.
Las familias bien contentas y salen y te dan las gracias por hacer esto, por tener las cherries, porque ellos vienen y piscan sus cherries y escogen sus cherries y comen lo que les gusta, o sea, lo mejor. Y cuando ellos van saliendo con sus familias, pues también eso es algo bonito para uno, mirar que mucha gente disfruta del trabajo de uno, que no es nada más para mí, es para mucha gente el trabajo que yo hago.
Bueno, Pedro.
This is an older way, but this is a way to ensure that quality. You know, I mean, we're not skipping steps here.
La cherry perfecta es el número 9 que le llaman.
And the ratio between like the pit size and the amount of fruit, they really follow this idea of going more towards a really sweet burst of flavor. You know, once you bite into the cherry, it just absolutely explodes with sugar and firmness. And has a nice snappy pop to the cherry once you bite into it.
There's a lot of people, money's not the biggest issue, they just want a good fresh cherry. And we get good reviews.
And the only way to maintain that initial snap into the cherry, the cold chain needs to be maintained. In other words, it needs to be picked in the morning while the pulp temperature of the cherry is cool, and that pulp temperature stays at a consistently low temperature all the way to the point where the consumer actually, you know, bites into the cherry. So that's what we're looking for.
Cuando va directo de la huerta al consumidor, no hay tiempo que se pierda en el proceso de llevarla al empaque y las horas que duran el empaque, los días que duran el empaque. Y luego el envío a la tienda y en la tienda los días que dura para venderse. Aquí no, aquí está directo a la boca. No hay tiempo que perderle, ni sabor, ni nada. Va directo a la boca. Es algo fresco, completamente fresco. Recién cortado, recién piscado.
When I slow my mind and kind of sit back, especially during cherry harvest, and I see my mom and dad there and my two boys, and you know, and then recognize a photograph of my grandfather, you know, in the corner, it just all feels right, feels good.
All the way across around the block. Signed off all the papers. Yeah, this is
Or really what I did. But
it's just peaceful.
Yeah.
It's so peaceful.
Tengo 23 años haciéndolo, aquí específicamente aquí. Y por el buen trato que tengo, porque ellos me lo han dicho y me lo siguen diciendo cada rato, que yo soy parte de la familia de ellos. Y los hechos lo confirman.
For me, there is an incredible responsibility that we as commercial farmers have to be stewards of the land. And I think that takes education, not only self-education to allow for future generations to enjoy life here on Earth. It's incredibly important. We have a huge population to feed, and the more and more that I believe consumers can have direct communication and provide feedback to farmers, the better.
But yeah, having that commitment to the community, it's very humbling to have people come in your orchard and thank you when they leave. It's like, no, we're thanking you, but you know, they're so happy to come in.
What I notice with respect to connection with my family and when cherry season comes, is it brings us all together. I'd like to call a cheers to the rest of our cherry harvest and the rest of a wonderful evening tonight. Thank you very much. Cheers. When we're able to produce our cherries and get them out into the marketplace, that's symbolic of my family. That's us coming together and putting our efforts together to produce these beautiful cherries.